I'm Kelsey Thorud, and this is The Minute. A new San Francisco police officer now faces DUI charges. Investigators say 28-year-old Ryan Kwong slammed into another car on Sunset Boulevard around 2 a.m. on Saturday, sending 5 people to the hospital. Kwong had just joined the force 2 days earlier. 1 person is dead and 4 injured after an explosion in Palm Springs. It happened just before 11 a.m. Saturday at a fertility center. Authorities are describing the blast as a deliberate act of terrorism. Police say the suspect died in the blast. Thousands in costume hitting San Francisco streets for the 114th annual Bay to Breakers race. The 7-mile journey started at 8 a.m. on Howard and Main and will finish at the Great Highway. Street closures stretch from the Embarcadero to Ocean Beach. I'm Kelsey Thorud with The Minute.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It might look like a typical burned out building, but it's at the center of the fight to turn San Francisco's North Beach neighborhood into an official historic district. The competing visions over its future. Plus, concerns growing over a homeless encampment steps away from an East Bay park. Why some neighbors tell us the city needs to step in to help everyone.
This isn't fair for them. This isn't fair for us.
And lights, camera, action. A group of seniors in the South Bay are ready for their close-up.
Getting to watch the residents give back to the community was absolutely amazing. It doesn't matter their age.
We'll take a look at a festival highlighting local seniors giving back to families in need. Thank you for joining us. Let's get right out to meteorologist Zoe Mintz. The battle to preserve a San Francisco neighborhood is now focused on a single building. Community organizers in North Beach are asking the State Historic Resources Commission to turn a 12-block stretch into an official historic district. The commission has tabled the plan for now. The proposed district includes more than 720 buildings, but the Verdi building in particular has activists especially concerned.
For more than 100 years, the Verdi building has stood on the corner of Columbus and Union in North Beach. But today, it is a ruin, crumbling away. The building caught fire in 2013 and then again in 2018. The flames spared nothing inside, but the shell and facade remain. Nobody wants to see it stay the way it is, but what to do with it remains the million-dollar question. If it were up to Catherine Petrin, who's helping champion North Beach's historic district designation.
It's at the symbolic heart of North Beach, right across from Washington Square Park. It's a busy corner. There's every reason to save the building. It still has the potential to be a thing of beauty and to, recall this Italian palazzo that was the inspiration to the architects that designed it.
Her ideal proposal, bring the building back to life with new housing while preserving the historic facade.
For over a century, it has been one of the most distinctive architectural buildings in North Beach. It would be great if what's coming is of the right scale instead of like a tower. There's every reason to think that this building could be rebuilt using the existing walls.
A plan for that was in the works, but now the Verdi building's part owner, Jeff Juro, has changed course. He'd like to demolish it and start from scratch. His proposal, a mixed-use site with retail, housing, a hotel, and rooftop restaurant. He declined to be interviewed on camera, but he tells us, our proposed project is far superior in every way to a burned-out building that has remained in its current condition for far too long. Juro added preservation would be too expensive and says, we respectfully disagree with those who believe demolishing the walls would destroy this corner of North Beach. North Beach is much more than 4 burned-out walls. The walls themselves are not particularly significant or unique. Juro hopes to have his plans approved before the state decides on the historic district designation, as he believes there is no path forward if that happens. He plans to try and utilize pro-housing state laws to expedite the project.
I don't know what the proposed project looks like for this site, but I do know that a 24-story tower would be allowed, and I just don't think that that's the right solution for this site. This is not an anti-housing stance. It's just a very symbolic building and symbolic corner, and that would not be the right project at this site.
Petrin does believe a project needs to push forward, but says the site's future shouldn't push its past aside.
That buildings like this will never be built again, and I think we should do everything we can to save it, to restore it, to return it to its former glory.
No word yet on when the state will take up the historic district consideration for North Beach. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie has weighed in, saying he supports a smaller historic district, but he hasn't discussed this specific building. Another Bay Area encampment growing further out of control as neighbors fear for their safety and advocates say the city should be doing more to help. It all comes as Governor Newsom urges cities and counties to crack down and ban homeless encampments across the state. It is a common theme in the Bay Area, people pitching tents in areas deemed as public property and then living there until the city or the state forces them out. But before the warning and the homeless sweeps, there is a debate over how to help homeless people and who's really paying the price. Suji Nam has a look at the latest efforts in Berkeley.
I never had these signs before, and now I've had to post them, and I've gotten these signs from the city of Berkeley and also from the police department.
Hossein Attar owns this rental property along Martin Luther King Jr. Way in Berkeley, mere steps away from Ohlone Park. He says he is running out of options to keep his tenants, UC Berkeley students, safe from the homeless encampments.
Started out with 3 or 4 tents, then it got 5, 6, 12, 15, 20. Now I think we're up to almost 50 tents.
Attar says he began noticing tents pop up about a year ago, wedged between the dog park.
Homeless people going into my backyard. I've had a knife pulled on me in my own backyard. I've had people shooting up in the backyard.
A sign is posted at the front of Ohlone Park prohibiting unattended property and overnight camping. But that is not the reality.
Sad display of just poverty. This isn't fair for them. This isn't fair for us.
Attar is part of the Save Ohlone Park group, where residents are calling on city officials to provide increased community safety and provide shelter for the unhoused.
The city says they're going to do stuff, but we haven't seen them do one thing. All they've done is built a fence around City Hall and pushed the problem into the park.
The city is facing a barrier to building more shelters, a nearly $27 million budget deficit in the next fiscal year. A city spokesperson responded to our request for comment, saying they're working to find solutions, but wouldn't comment further.
There's no resolution in there. All it does is create a problem that is based on a punitive reaction.
Paul Kealoha Blake of Where Do We Go Berkeley, a nonprofit organization that provides legal aid and resources to the unhoused, says sweeps are ineffective and inhumane. He feels there should be collaboration in making more shelters available.
They do not work. They remove the people from our site. That works, I guess, but it doesn't really work on the real issues. The real issues are a lot deeper and a lot more complex than that.
And for neighbors like Attar,
when I was growing up here as a kid, people would play in the park, people would have picnics, kids would go out and study in the park, and now people are afraid to go in the park.
Hoping to erase that fear with a solution that works for all involved.
The most recent count conducted last year found nearly 850 homeless people living in the city of Berkeley. More than half of them were not in shelters. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area on this Sunday, improving attendance and learning. After the break, we will travel to the Central Valley to find out how a school district there is battling chronic absenteeism.
When somebody will say, "Lori, what are you doing calling me at 7 at night?" Well, which kid do I give 50% to? I got to give each one of them 100%.
Plus, living with Parkinson's disease can be a daily struggle, but doctors at UCSF may have found a breakthrough treatment. We'll meet one patient who says magic mushrooms have made everything easier. And Golden Years honored on the silver screen. We'll take you inside the film festival in the South Bay celebrating seniors for their charity work.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Well, the pandemic is long gone, but it's still having a lingering impact on our children. When schools reopened, a lot of kids stayed home a lot of the time. The latest data showed 28% of students are chronically absent. They are missing 10% or more school days. Elizabeth Cook shows us what one school district in the Central Valley is doing about it.
Can you tell me those letters?
As the nurse at this rural district in Livingston, California, Lori Morgan's job description is all about scraped knees and vision tests.
Okay.
But she just can't help herself in putting one more task on top of her to-do list.
Destiny, I need your help today.
Attendance.
In a perfect world, the first time they didn't come to school, we would go out and meet the parent or call the parent. You communicating with us and getting her to school is what it's all about.
She calls parents, and if they don't answer, visits families at home, encouraging them to reach out to her personally with questions on stomach aches or anxiety.
When somebody will say, Lori, what are you doing calling me at 7 at night? Well, which kid do I give 50% to? I got to give each one of them 100%.
At the height of the pandemic, the number of chronically absent students more than doubled to a peak of 31%. That's missing at least one day a month. And the most recent data shows at 28%, chronic absences haven't gotten much better.
Be good, okay? Alrighty, love you.
Educators say because of the pandemic, many of the youngest kids never got the chance to attend daycare. In California, 1 in 3 kindergartners is chronically absent.
Am I a bad mom for leaving her when she's crying, or am I a bad mom because she doesn't want to go and I'm still taking her?
At the beginning of the year, Carolina Garcia's 5-year-old daughter Selena was missing at least one day a week on average.
Was it hard to convince her to go to school?
Yes, it was hard because she would say, oh, I'm getting bullied or I'm getting in trouble.
Missing one day of school at that age is more like missing 3, needing 2 days to catch up. Only 17% of kids chronically absent in kindergarten and first grade were able to read proficiently in 3rd grade.
We want them to know how important it is for them to have their child in school every single day, because we keep going. If you miss some of the foundational skills, we don't stop and go back.
Nurse Lori has helped make this district an outlier, dropping their chronic absentee rate from 19 to 14%.
I am feeling happy today because I'm at school.
The school focuses on connection, rewarding good attendance with extra recess, teaching kids from a young age that they are wanted at school, and giving parents such as single mom Carolina Garcia any extra support they might need.
Sometimes you got to fix what's going on with the adults in the house before you can have a healthy kid.
What do you want to pass on to your kids? I call them your kids because they really are your kids.
Yep, they are. I know how important it is for a child to get a really good education. You start off back in kindergarten, it all really does matter.
She is living the lesson she wants to teach parents and students. It's simply showing up that matters most.
Bye. Say thank you. Still ahead, a different sort of film festival in the South Bay. How it's celebrating some local seniors who are spending their later years supporting their community.
I was so impressed with what they do and how they care about the people they serve. I'm sorry.
Well, forget the Oscars or the Golden Globes. The South Bay Film Festival is shining the spotlight on seniors for their work on giving back to their communities. Arlen Ramirez has a look.
Well, this has all of the glitz and the glamour that you would expect of a film festival, but this event is really special, showcasing some of the good works that are going on behind the scenes in some of the Bay Area's biggest senior living centers.
How's it going? Yeah. Okay.
The stars of the films made their way down the red carpet, some of them needing a helping hand along the way, but all of them dressed in their finest, pausing midway for the paparazzi. And cutting through the crowd was Mary Lou Bradley, whose acts of kindness were shown in the film From Our Pantry to Their Plate. It's a documentary short about how the residents of Belmont Village, San Jose, volunteer at the South Valley Fish Food Pantry, which serves groceries to families in need.
We had taken a trip there, and so we got to talk with the staff, and they showed us around the facility, and I was so impressed with what they do and how they care about the people they serve. I'm sorry.
Making the film was close to the heart for Mary Lou, a retired social worker from San Mateo County who obviously still cares deeply about helping people in need. Cinematographer and editor Lisa Newhouse says that's a big part of why the film festival came to be.
Getting to watch the residents give back to the community was absolutely amazing. It doesn't matter their age. They've all been able to have so many life experiences that they understand the importance of community and giving back.
Seniors in several Belmont Village communities in the Bay Area and Arizona made films that spotlight their year-round philanthropic work and the nonprofits they partner with, including schools, food pantries, homeless services, and women's shelters.
Angels, our resident volunteer group.
We noticed that when we share the stories of what our residents are doing, it can inspire others to participate. And so we were hoping that younger generations would be inspired to give back and participate as well.
I think it's absolutely amazing that they're providing this amount of food for people that don't have it.
When Mary Lou's movie premiered on the screen, she watched with her friends and neighbors, now leading ladies in their long overdue debut. And as the credits rolled, there were feelings of pride and accomplishment for not only a great film, but a life filled with giving to others.
Sister communities in San Diego and Scottsdale, Arizona will also be holding film festivals to highlight seniors in those areas. Still ahead on our next half hour on CBS News Bay Area, it could be a breakthrough in treating Parkinson's disease. The findings from a Bay Area study involving magic mushrooms.
Something about this experience just freed everything back up so that I could think again, I could dream again.
We were really surprised by how well this trial went.
Plus, health leaders sounding the alarm on a drug much more potent than fentanyl, how it's already proven deadly here in the Bay Area. I'm Kelsey Thorid, and this is The Minute. A leaked email revealed the San Francisco Parks Alliance has misused millions of dollars. The nonprofit allegedly diverted at least $3.8 million meant for park projects to cover operating costs. Its own leaders called it a, quote, dumpster fire. 2 people dead after a Mexican Navy training ship slammed into the Brooklyn Bridge last night, snapping all 3 masts. The tall ship had just left Manhattan Pier when it suddenly drifted backwards. Officials blame a likely mechanical failure. More than 20 were hurt, at least 11 critically. Thousands in costume hitting San Francisco streets for the 114th annual Beta Breakers race. The 7-mile journey started at 8 a.m. on Howard and Main and will finish at the Great Highway. Street closures stretch from the Embarcadero to Ocean Beach. I'm Kelsey Thorid with The Minute. New research shows a link between people living near golf courses face greater odds of developing Parkinson's disease. A new study from the Mayo Clinic found people living near golf courses are 126% more likely to develop the disease. That's compared to those living more than a mile away. Researchers believe this has to do with pesticide contamination in drinking water and groundwater. About 1 million Americans have Parkinson's disease. While there's no cure, there are treatments. As Max Darrow shows us, there's new hope in a natural treatment that could let them lead more independent and fulfilling lives, thanks to magic mushrooms.
On a quiet plot of land in rural New Mexico, Jeff Deming feels like he's really living once again.
Mentally, just night and day.
He's able to do the things that make him happy, like woodworking, despite living with Parkinson's disease.
And I'll be honest with you, I mean, physically, I feel better than I did 2-3 years ago.
And Jeff credits treatment he received during a first-of-its-kind clinical study he participated in at UCSF, psilocybin therapy for people with Parkinson's.
This is very cliche, but it truly gave me my life back.
Psilocybin is a naturally occurring psychedelic compound found in so-called magic mushrooms. When administered in a controlled clinical setting, it's shown promise in treating depression and anxiety, both of which are mood symptoms that go hand in hand with Parkinson's that are linked to a faster physical decline.
We were really surprised by how well this trial went.
Dr. Ellen Bradley and a team of researchers at UCSF are trying to figure out how psilocybin may help treat mood dysfunction and more in those living with this neurodegenerative disease.
This is a first step, and now we've opened the door to being able to really investigate the effects of psilocybin for people with Parkinson's.
12 patients participated in the study, which started and finished here, with transcranial magnetic stimulation, as demonstrated here by her team, to look at the brain before and after 2 psilocybin therapy sessions.
We want to find out not just does psilocybin therapy work, but if it does, and how does it work? And that mechanistic piece is so important. Can it change the brain's ability to adapt to its environment and rewire itself?
Per the study, all 12 Parkinson's patients were able to receive 2 doses of psilocybin 2 weeks apart without any serious side effects. Now, every patient didn't have the same life-changing experience as Jeff says he did, and that was to be expected, says Bradley. But others did also report improvement with their motor and cognitive functions.
That was really exciting just to see that promising safety profile in this initial pilot that kind of gives us, a green light to go forward with more in-depth research. We really desperately need new treatments for Parkinson's. We really feel like we have to be investigating every possible route that could mean new treatments for patients.
Something about this experience just freed everything back up so that I could think again, I could dream again.
Jeff is now 2 years removed from his controlled psilocybin dosing, and he says he feels better now than he did when he was diagnosed 4 years ago.
There's been such stigma against the research with it.
He'd like to see more research into psychedelic therapies for a variety of conditions.
It is definitely worth looking more closely at.
All with the hope that maybe more people will also be able to reclaim the reins of life.
Dr. Bradley and UCSF are scaling up their work. They're in the process of recruiting Parkinson's patients for a larger study, but she stresses the importance of only doing this in a controlled clinical setting. Public health officials in Santa Clara County are sounding the alarm about a new drug that's 100 times more potent than fentanyl. It's called carfentanil, a synthetic opioid that was developed as a tranquilizer for elephants and other large animals, but now it seems to have entered the illegal drug supply, and it's been tied to a recent overdose death. Our Kenny Choi heard from county officials about this new threat.
There's a thick stack of papers that sits on a shelf directly across from Dr. Michelle Jordan's desk. Santa Clara County's chief medical examiner flips through the toxicology reports. Each sheet represents a drug overdose death.
I can constantly survey what our patients are dying from.
The medical examiner's office confirmed late last month the first overdose death due to carfentanil, a synthetic opioid about 10,000 times stronger than morphine and 100 times stronger than fentanyl.
The reason why this death is so important to report out is because we have a very high suspicion that the fake pills we observed on scene were laced with carfentanil.
Authorities found fake oxycodone pills at the scene where a 39-year-old male was found dead. They say counterfeit M30 pills or any other pill purchased on the streets could be laced with carfentanil.
When you buy a pill off the street, you have absolutely no idea what's in that pill.
Dr. Sarah Rudman is Santa Clara County's public health director. Officials are pushing a more aggressive campaign highlighting this latest public health threat.
Some of the things that this coalition is working on include education about the new threat of carfentanil to healthcare providers, community organizations, and to our harm reduction clients who may be at risk of accidental carfentanil exposure.
To mitigate the harms, the Santa Clara County Opioid Overdose Prevention Project offers various avenues of support. It provides overdose reversing medication naloxone, drug test strips, and help getting into treatment.
We've handed out flyers, we've held trainings for healthcare providers, and we've worked directly with our clients who come to us in the field for a wide range of services to make sure they're hearing from a trusted source exactly what they need to know about this new risk.
Health officials say minimal exposure to carfentanil, including skin contact or inhalation of airborne powder, can result in death.
It is a constant reminder that we have to continue every day to monitor for any type of new drugs that are emerging.
It's a reminder and a warning of a deadly drug that's already here and its potential impact.
The Santa Clara County Opioid Overdose Prevention Project now offers free naloxone by mail to anyone 18 or older who lives in Santa Clara County. We have a link up on our website at kpix.com. Up next, what started as a competition between Northern and Southern California has transformed into a worldwide hunt for biodiversity.
People have made over 7 million observations of nature, and this gives us like a ongoing annual census.
Plus, we hit the water with local fishermen testing out new crab traps they hope will protect both the whales and their wallets. How a fisherman who had his doubts got to see its success for himself.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
As much as people love to eat crab, lobster, and other seafood caught in cages on the ocean floor, in the Bay Area, we know these delicacies come with a price. Whales, turtles, and other sea creatures end up getting caught in the long lines attached to those cages. The hardest hit, humpback whales. Entanglements in fishing lines help put them on the endangered species list. That also delayed crab season here in the Bay Area for the last few years. But as Elizabeth Cook reports, there may be a promising solution to minimize the impact on ocean life. But not all fishermen are willing to pay that price.
San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf, known to many as a tourist attraction, harbors a small fleet of fishing boats that might otherwise be catching crabs this time of year. But not now. Migrating endangered humpback whales are swimming in the same waters outside the Golden Gate where crabs are. And long lines of rope fishermen traditionally use to pull up crab cages have entangled too many humpbacks. 922 have been maimed or killed since 2007, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. But Brand Little is able to keep bringing up his catch from the ocean floor because he's using a high-tech system. A remote-controlled pop-up balloon-like device signals the crab cage on the ocean floor to head to the surface.
It has an acoustic release on it. We have a transducer that sends a signal to this release unit.
But for fishermen, spending another $50 a cage in an already cash-strapped industry is a hard sell.
What you have to remember about fishermen is these guys have just lost after lost after lost after loss. So, there's very little opportunity left.
And this new pop-up gear has its critics.
I was one of the biggest critics of it, so I set out to prove that it wouldn't work. And I kind of had to eat a little bit of crow because after I did it, I said, wait a minute, this might work.
For 3 years now, Brand Little heads out at midnight under the Golden Gate Bridge to retrieve his catch. He says he's not injured a single humpback whale. The pop-up technology he's using is sponsored by California's Department of Fish and Wildlife that regulates the crab fishing season.
This year we shortened it given the heightened risk of migrating whales coming back up the coast.
Chuck Bonham is California's Department of Fish and Wildlife Director.
You're the guy that gets to decide when the season begins and when it ends. What goes into making that decision?
The thing the whales eat for food, small little fish called krill, those krill moved more inshore. and the whales follow them, right where our fishing men and women put their gear. That has meant every year we've been entangling whales.
Bonham cut this year's season by 2 months, but the advantage Brand Little now has may mean the $25,000 technological investment he made will pay off, not just in a bigger catch, but in preventing injuries to humpback whales.
In today's Project Earth, a community science project began 10 years ago as a friendly competition between two California cities, San Francisco and LA. Now it's an international event that involves 670 cities and metro areas around the world. The goal, to see who can document the most wildlife in just 4 days. One location in our backyard is already famous for a different kind of competition, and Makovic has more.
South of San Francisco, the massive waves at Mavericks draw surfers from around the world. But what lies hidden beneath these cold waters, where the land meets the Pacific Ocean, is equally jaw-dropping. Seen only at low tide, it is a world teeming with life.
This place is one of the places that you can come at low tide and you can see the greatest diversity of life.
Every time it's so amazing.
This is an absolute wow moment, for sure.
Recently, at the crack of dawn, a group gathered at Mavericks to document that life. Among them, mother and daughter Christy and Kelly Bracken.
We're making observations. We're being citizen scientists.
Yes.
The team is participating in an international event called the City Nature Challenge. Once a year for the past 10 years, people from around the world photograph all the wildlife they can find in their communities.
People have made over 7 million observations of nature, and this gives us like a ongoing annual census of where species are across the globe.
Rebecca Johnson at the California Academy of Sciences is a co-founder of the challenge. She calls Mavericks magical.
If you really focus on a tiny place, you can see this like huge diversity of things. Right? You can see seaweeds, crabs, shrimps, sponges, anemones.
Mom. Oh wow, look at all those. What are they?
650 different species live in the tide pools alone.
We're looking at a pair of ochre sea stars.
Hi, Di. Wait for the camera.
You can look here, these are mussels, California mussels. And you can see on them we have some barnacles that are growing.
This little tiny guy.
Perhaps the most mesmerizing find, the vibrantly colored creature known as a nudibranch.
Officially has made the trip worthwhile.
Armed with smartphones, the team snaps pictures of all the wildlife they see.
This place is a really amazing hotspot for biodiversity.
A special app identifies the species and shares the photos with scientists who study long-term trends.
It's an early warning system often in what is going on in these very delicate ecosystems.
The rising tide signals it's time to go. This mother and daughter leave with a new appreciation.
With the current changing climate, we don't know how long we'll have the ability to see these creatures and see them prospering, and unless we make really rapid changes to preserve their habitat.
So that we can just be more aware and take better care of our Earth.
Along with the world often hidden from view.
As for the results, La Paz, Bolivia clocked in with the highest number of observations and participants. Another city in central Bolivia, Caucumbambu, recorded the most species, more than 7,000. As for the San Francisco Bay Area, well, we beat LA in observation, species, and participants. For all the results, go to kpix.com. Coming up.
I remember growing up, coming down to the store, kind of play with my toys in the office.
This is no ordinary hardware store. We'll meet the owners of this San Francisco institution, helping make sure the history and culture of Japantown aren't forgotten. In San Francisco, Soko Hardware is celebrating 100 years in the community. Over the last century, it's become a place where the history and culture of Japantown is preserved and passed on through the generations. Suji Nam introduces us to the family, making it all possible.
Ever since graduating college, Philip Ashizawa dedicated his life to his family's business, Soko Hardware, in Japantown, San Francisco.
This is our normal hardware tool section.
Along the 1600 block of Post Street, Soko Hardware has been a pillar in the Japanese community for a century. Ashizawa's grandparents first opened Soko Hardware in 1925 at another site, a couple blocks away from the Japan Center, but things quickly changed.
Unfortunately, had to shut down in the early 40s or mid 40s because of the war, and they were forced to go to incarceration camps. My parents and my grandparents went to Topaz, Utah.
After his family survived the internment camps during World War II, they came back to San Francisco, and Ashizawa's father took the helm by opening the Soko Hardware store of today.
My father was able to build this store.
What once mainly served as a hardware store for the Japanese community, it's now become more than that.
Right now, our hot sellers are these, the tea whisks for matcha tea.
When you step inside, you're taking a glimpse of the vibrant culture of Japan.
These are hand towels.
Ashizawa remembers his family's hard work and sacrifice, just like it was yesterday.
I remember growing up, coming down to the store. We used to have an office up in the second floor, and I would kind of play with my toys in the office.
And now, as a third-generation owner, he is working with the next generation. His son and daughter help out at the store.
In Japan, you have national treasures. This would be a Japantown national treasure.
Steve Nakajo, a community organizer and family friend, emphasizes the impact of the Ashizawa family in Japantown history.
When you talk about the formalization of Japantown here in the Western Addition, as far as I can remember, you come into a recognition of Soko Hardware. Despite segregation, prejudice, and the concentration camp, and still here in the physical Japantown community of today in San Francisco, you have this historical community.
You can feel the history within these walls, the story of survival to carry on the Ashizawa legacy.
Being part of the community, you get to know everyone in the area.
He and his wife Eunice are not only familiar faces, but faces of comfort, of family.
I'm not moving, not at this point.
Ashizawa vows to continue sharing his heritage with visitors around the world.
I'm a glass artist.
Oh my God, no, I couldn't do that.
Who want to learn about Japanese culture just as much as he wants to learn theirs.
You can find all of our stories for AAPI Heritage Month on kpix.com. And be sure to watch our special Legacy and Leadership this Thursday, May 22nd at 7:30 p.m. and Saturday, May 24th at 7 p.m. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Kelsey Thorud. We will be right back with your first alert forecast and today's top stories.